All right, and let's just do an official take of like, hey, welcome everybody to the Fourth Walls Calendar Kids virtual reunion thing. All right, and you guys can all do a like wave or a clap or whatever the hell you want. All right, and oh, cool, they're all here. They're all here. Now all we need is Elijah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fourth Wall Calendar Kids virtual reunion. Yeah.
Hey.
I'm the host, Taylor Lozano. I am also the director of the show. And why don't we just real quickly go around and just every single person, why don't you just say your name and tell us who you played in the show? All right, starting with whoever wants to go.
Hey, I'm Donna Lee, and I played the narrator.
Brody, who are you?
What if I don't remember?
That's fine. I mean, just go with the name. I was in the show.
Okay.
No, I'm Brody. I'm the writer of the show.
You're also co-director, Bubba.
I co-director, yeah.
You also played a part.
Yeah, he replaced Craig one
Craig's
night.
understudy.
He was there the best night of the show. Amanda and Craig, what about you?
I'm Amanda. I played Margaret the waitress and Leonarda. Yes.
Craig and I'm the postman and also Clark.
All right. Kim?
Nice.
The only character I remember is Garrett. What characters?
It was Garrett and there was
played two other characters.
Dana,
the lesbian ghost.
And
that's right.
And Jack's mother.
And then what was the name of the one I did with Matt?
Oh yeah.
And there were a lot of characters.
Yeah. You were Jenny Ronald.
Jenny Ronald.
Yes. All right, Jamie Lee Stridiron.
Hi, I'm Jamie Lee, and I played Rachel and Jill.
All right, and John?
I played Jack. I'm
John. And Matt. Last but not least.
Matt in the flesh. I played Thomas Jenkins and Jonathan Stultz, former doctor.
Yeah, MD, I believe is what he was, right? He was one of those MDs. So this is our whole team. I mean, how are you guys feeling? How y'all been doing? It's been a whole year now. Did we do it back in March?
Yeah, it's been long.
Yep.
I can't believe it. 2.
Where you all at now? How you feeling about it? Has it left a huge impact on your life? Do you feel emotionally unbalanced now without it?
I want to do it again.
Nice, I agree.
I mean, I'm always emotionally unbalanced, so.
Yeah, that's fair. And if I remember correctly, the whole reason we did it too was like we were scrambling together to like come up with the season, and then Brody was just, I wrote this script you guys can have, and we were like, oh, we're all about producing stuff. What is it? And he's like, it's some people doing a thing, and like you gave us a script, and I didn't read it for like the longest time, and then Kim knows about that. And then one day I just picked it up and I like slammed through the whole thing because I got hooked into the like first scene. And within about the 2 hours it took me to read the whole script, I decided I want to direct this show. I have to have a hand in this. And we were even, right, Brody? We had been talking about like you had a friend that was probably going to direct it. We got right up on the cusp of the show before I made that decision and stuff. And this ended up being like, I don't know about you guys, but this was like one of the most serious, even though there's all these comedic moments in it, it was also one of the like most dark projects I'd worked on up until this point. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
It was brilliant. Maybe I just like dark.
The darkness is obviously beautiful and brilliant, but the thing, I think that, and I remember very clearly, like some people walking out because we had been known for doing comedies up until that point, and and the last thing they said before leaving was like, "That is not funny. That was not funny at all." And we were like, "Yeah, it's not supposed to be." It's you know its own thing.
Man.
It's funny. Would have loved
I think for me, since I've worked with Brody's work before,
Mhm.
definitely knew, like, before I even read it, that it was going to be, you know, pretty good, considering when we did Y2K, that was pretty good.
Thanks.
So I was really excited.
Yeah, and that was also another kind
gonna
of
do
dark comedy kind of show.
And you have that following. That's the crazy thing. Like, before I ever met Brody, y'all, I would hear all these stories from everyone else. Brody is a man of few words, and so like when I was talking about Calendar Kids, and I told one of my friends, "Yeah, we're going to be producing this show, Calendar Kids, by my friend Brody later." He was like, "Brody Jennings," and I was like, "Yeah, you know, that's I love that show. I have never seen the ending. That show is beautiful, though." And I was like, "Okay, I have to go read it now." Like, I don't think you realize how popular your little show is.
Come on.
You are.
Come on, that did not happen.
It totally happened. I was doing another show. I cast somebody. He was asking me about like what I do at the fourth wall and everything. I told him, and that's exactly what happened. Was somebody like flipped their shit because they hadn't gotten to see the ending of the show, and they were like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy that you're doing the show because now I get to see how it ends and everything."
And we got to have him with us. That was gold.
Well, he's a beautiful human being. I mean, having Brody is gold every time he sends me a text now. Now, here's some of the scenes from the show. We got our beautiful Kregert. I know, look how handsome he looks right there.
Oh, I got
pining over.
I was like, he looks just so hairless in this.
Aww. No, correct. Am I wrong in that you guys started dating after this show?
After the show, yes.
Yeah.
During 26 Pebbles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because I thought you were rehearsing the kiss a few times, but no,
rehearsing.
Whoa.
Kissing this one.
Stop the presses. And these are some of the scenes just from the very beginning of the show. Our client Sarah, who was in the show, and this was like a big undertaking for her because she had to command so much. Like, that's one thing that I thought was amazing about the show. And John and Matt, I hate to single you out, fellas, but gosh darn, like, was I proud of you two for doing the show? Like, tell me right now, like, for you, how did it feel going from mostly doing comedy and stuff with the workshops and with the fourth wall and going into this show, which dealt with much darker material than I normally see you guys doing?
I felt really good. I've always been a fan of dark material. Love dark, violent, moody, depressing films. They just speak to me for some reason. And I really liked my character because he was a representation of one of my favorite films, a character from one of my favorite films, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Which I'm so glad Brody had that in mind when he wrote that, because that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about that too.
Yeah.
Johnny, what about you, bud?
For me, man, it was always a thing. For me, it's like really different. I've always seen it on the big screen or on TV shows. And for me, actually performing something like Calendar Kids was really on a different side that I never really thought on expanding.
Yeah, I actually was wondering the other day, in terms of some of the questions that I was trying to ask you guys after rehearsals, was there ever like one of those moments when we were digging through the characters and the themes of the show that like maybe stuck out to you? Because I remember there were some rehearsals where you know, we'd gone for hour and a half, and then I'd keep you an extra 20 minutes just to like get all this information, not only for myself, but for you guys. No? Everybody hated my suggestions. Yeah, no.
No. I remember when you said you thought my character was based off of Nietzsche. That stuck in my mind. And then Brody was like, no, it's not Nietzsche. And you were just like, no, I swear it's Nietzsche. You wrote Nietzsche.
It was like I didn't write it on purpose, not to say it doesn't follow that pattern, I guess, because you could say, you know, personalities are only in a limited variety, but like I just thought it was funny because if that was true, I was like, well, that wasn't intentional. I mean, I'll totally fucking take the credit for that, but like,
sure. Yeah.
And that's something that I think that is really interesting about this show, that if we play our cards right and everything, I won't be the only person who hears that, or you guys, is that there's a lot of interpretations you can make about this show, but at the end of the day, Brody's leaving like everybody up to that. He's not telling us what it is or anything. So there's just so much ambiguity shrouding the whole story and everything. I mean, one thing that honestly still bugs me is the number of times I'm like, yeah, the show must be about, you know, nihilism and the rejection of faith and the rejection of the patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. And I just keep repeating the day that I asked you like that exact question. And you were like, no, man, it's just the name of an institution.
I think I remember that day. I think that's actually one of my favorite memories, is just finding out. He's like, no, that's not at all.
I mean,
you really went into it like you were monologuing about it, and I was like, no, it's just Nietzsche. It's just New York is stupidly criminally insane.
For you though, like I do gotta know. I gotta sleep, Brody. Okay, but just so I could go to bed tonight. Is the show supposed to be nihilistic in that respect? Like, there is no interpretation. There is no thing. This is just the events that happened as they happened. Like, is that what we're supposed to be getting from it?
That's kind of a part of it. But I mean, I feel like using the word nihilism is a little darker. I mean, I know it's a dark show, but ultimately I tried to put a lighter spin on it. You know, I try at least, like, it's got that kind of like Greek style of we don't show the really bad stuff on stage. A lot of things are kind of implied because I'm trying to keep it light. So it's just not dark, because then it's just too much of one thing. Yeah. You know, I tried to keep it light. I tried at the very end with the narrator, with their monologue, to keep it kind of light, to say, you know, that's how you view people. That's how people might view these people that are in this institution. But ultimately, I mean, they're here, they're trying. There are people who are willing to try and you know, help with their problems and things like that. And those people aren't failures.
Yeah, the thing that I thought was so, I keep saying the thing that I thought was so beautiful about this story too was just how specific that message, you know, applies to a lot of the things we try to do in the company, trying to get new people in and give them opportunity, trying new things to see if that will yield different results. Just it's such a good, poignant, and straightforward message. I think you did a really, really good job with that, sir. Speaking of our fair narrator, Miss Donnelly Burry, who you had like a good mix of that dark and that humorous stuff going on a lot of the time. I mean, was there anything in particular that you did to kind of mentally prepare yourself for your role as the conscience of the audience of laying this information to us as it comes along?
For me, the character was built as we rehearsed and came along, and as I started seeing the whole play, it was so beautifully written, Brody. The brain and creativity is just phenomenal, and I just kind of went in and thought, where does this character go? But it really did grow as we develop the play as we were in rehearsal. And I just thought it was so beautiful to present these out of the norm type of play or production. And I did really enjoy playing, because the narrator kind of came off in the one way because the narrator was narrating. And then at the end, narrator went into where the narrator was, you know, in that lost place. Or I loved how it seemed like there were these separate stories, and yet they all came together. They all ended up connecting. Just fabulous job. Yeah, I was just thrilled to be a part of it. And really, I'd love to do it again, even with the same people.
Even with this sack of crap. Speaking of sacks of crap, Kim, you got to like have
What?
you got to have a heavy-handed involvement in not only performing in this show as two characters that three characters.
I was the 3 characters, but
There's 2 characters that essentially have this, like, I guess, otherworldly vibe to them and everything. But then at the same time, you also had this huge responsibility of building almost the whole environment, the whole vibe of the play by doing all of the tech work for us and getting people set up for that. I mean, like, at that point, too, we were still functioning off of the 3-4 lights, I believe it was.
we had 5 lights for that show.
We had 5 whole lights for that show.
I pushed it real hard.
We started with 6 and it went down to 5. That's what it was, right?
Yeah, because we needed those spotlights for that one scene.
Mm-hmm.
So we bumped it up for that one scene.
And we ended up, we kind of split the difference on it a lot too. That was something that I liked a lot about the show, was as we hit all of these different hurdles too. You especially, Kim, as you hit these hurdles, you were like, you know what? I'm going to make it work with the vibe. And it, like, I feel like a lot of that takeaway too added a lot to the show, just in terms of like the darkness. Is this shot right here of Elijah in particular, I think does a good idea, because it's like, we didn't have very much to work with, but what we did have to work with, you know, gave us these good little moments, these good little images of having what we did have. You know, we had to light, like, I think during this scene there were 2 separate lights that had to be a specific color, and then we had to light the whole stage at the same time, and trying to find the balance for getting them a good pool of light was such a pain in the butt. I mean, there was there's this scene as well too.
God, that wig.
Everything. I don't know. I just want to say thank you. I'll stop gushing about your skill, Kim, to you. You tell me about it. Like what
I mean, before rehearsals, I would be painting the set, and then I would go to rehearsals and be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm totally full of energy and everything.
Let's see. Can we get a shot of the set too? Like oh my God, I loved this set so much.
I loved what you did with it.
I had a specific idea in mind, and you hit it to a T. And the whole time, I remember I just kept hearing like, this is a weird set. And I was like, yeah, there's a point to it. And Kim was the only person who didn't say anything. She was the only person who was like, yep, got you your hill, got you your city, got you your boxes, got you your flat. That's it. And it was perfect. Bravo.
Kim's a fucking professional. I mean,
she is. And she's, you know what?
So.
You're only getting better. That's the crazy thing. Is we started this whole project thinking you'd never get better because you already kicked ass, and now gotten better. So good on you. Good on you.
Because then I did Bear, and then I did 26 Pebbles, which was actually I was really proud of what I did for 26.
Oh
yeah. But it's been designing the set has been fun.
What were you gonna say,
Taylor,
Donnelly?
each time you show a scene, I keep going, oh yeah, that was my favorite scene. And then you show another one, it's like, man, that was a really good, that's my favorite scene. You know, but really the clown Craig and the clown, I forget.
Lexus.
She was dressed. what that scene was, but that really was my favorite. If I have to name a favorite, but every scene is so good.
You mean the scene where I had to get addicted to candy cigarettes and try to practice licking the?
Can we talk about those candy cigarettes for 2 seconds?
Yes, I love the candy cigarettes. I still have them.
What was it? We had the talk afterwards one day, and you were like, and Brody and I kept being like, don't hold the cigarette that way. And
it was really bad.
to hold it. And I was like, okay, but you have to learn how then, Craig. And he was like, well, can somebody show me? And we were like, well, I said, I guess I used to smoke cigarettes. Yeah, I'll show you. That was the hardest thing to do in this show, was to show you how to properly hold a cigarette.
That was the biggest challenge for me, was figuring that out. I would hold that like all day, try to keep myself and actually translate it eventually. But that character, that was the hardest part, was that cigarette.
Can I just say too, just in reference to the whole cast, and Brody, this includes you too, just it was really, really it was something special to like get to start doing this whole fourth wall project, right? But then to get everybody acclimated to the sketch shows, and then to do this and seeing everybody in the cast going out of their way to do your own independent research. I know I'm giving you shit about the cigarettes, but you worked so hard on that. Everybody was working so hard on it. Yeah. Amanda, you had all these like little subtleties you're working on between the differences in your characters. Jamie Lee, you turned into a little shit. Like everybody was working on these little things that just, you guys, it was like being mommy and seeing like, oh, the little babies, they're all growing up. It made me so happy. So I pat on your backs. I just think you guys all should really.
It was
really
a lot of fun watching everyone like growing and doing their due diligence. And it was cool to see a lot of people who we'd been seeing, getting to know doing comedy, then get to see the other side of their acting ability doing the drama as well. And it's just it's really cool.
Speaking of Jamie Lee being a little shit.
What a segue.
Like, yeah, you really, like, I think stepped up your game in terms of energy in this show. And I hate to bring it up, but I know that was like the one thing we had talked about a couple times and stuff. And this was, I think, wasn't this like your second or third show with us?
I think so.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, you had just started doing theater with us and everything. So it was like, I just am really, really, again, bravo to like how you went from doing these one projects with us to this. I mean, your thoughts on shows, on murder, on everything. Tell me, what's up?
Well, I hadn't really been doing theater for a while, and I didn't have a lot of theater experience, and I still don't. So really, I really just had like the fourth wall, and the past one or two shows I did before Calendar Kids, they were sketch comedies. But I think before I started acting in general with the fourth wall, and again in general, I kind of always just pictured myself as a serious, like, dramatic actor, and that didn't happen until Calendar Kids. But it really pushed me because it showed me where I could go and how much further I can still go. Like, where are my boundaries? What am I comfortable with? And it was interesting being Rachel because I felt like Rachel was basically me. And then being Jill was someone else. Well, no, not really. Being Jill was like, well, I remember one of your suggestions was to watch an episode of Black Mirror, which I had never seen before. I'd also had never seen the show. I had to watch, I think it was Black Museum, and I think one other episode. But I also felt like I had to remember who I was in middle school. I had to be like this kind of sad emo kid. That's how I remember Jill. But both characters are very different, but I treasure both of them. The show means a lot to me. All of the fourth wall shows that I have both participated in and have seen hold a very dear place in my heart.
Oh, thank you. That's fantastic to hear. And again, I agree with you. I think that you you really stretched the depth of your character, of who you are. I mean, and now that you mention, like, I'd completely forgotten I made that suggestion, but now that you mentioned you watched Black Museum, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what you did. Like,
Yeah.
damn. But you were going to
I
say
watched
something
that
more? You're going
too.
to agree with me more, Brody?
No, I was just, I mean, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
looking
good.
at it, yeah, she did like the same thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
You guys made me watch that episode too.
Matt, I
And then
think
I
I had
think
a
you
little
watched
too
Get
much
Out.
fun killing your character.
Yeah.
Oh no! You gotta watch the play now.
Oh yeah.
What else? Anybody else want to tell me, like, what did this show mean to you in particular? Or, well, I guess, like, to this day, what does this show still mean to you?
I think for me, because recently I was playing a game called Hellblade: Senior Sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
and I was telling you about this too. And going through this game, is roughly about 8 hours worth of gameplay, and having to experience psychosis in a different type of way. It kind of put this play into a different perspective for me, and I think for me personally, like more like a self note to myself, if I was going to able to tell myself that was playing Jack, like, yo, try to make it to where Jill is kind of like distort her reality.
Yeah, and that's very, very grown up of you too, Jonathan. Good on you. Yeah, like, this show is, especially your character too, I think there's a lot of moments where these characters and what they're going through is almost like a fever dream, and that's why we're getting these little snippets as we walk along throughout the whole thing. We're experiencing, one character psychosis in a sense, but we're also experiencing all of their psychosis due to the echoes of mental health and how it affects us, which Brody totally didn't mean to say. He didn't mean that at all. Don't
I might have meant that.
What else did this mean to anybody in particular? Like, Amanda, I want to hear your thoughts on this, because this was the first time that I'd really gotten to work with you in depth and get to know you as a person and see you stretching your abilities as well, because you had it at the very beginning of the show. She has one character who's supposed to be this idealicism and another character who is the antithesis of that, just one after the other. And everybody who I've ever spoken to about the show always talks about that changeover. I mean, what are your thoughts on your experience about the show? What does it mean to you at this point?
I'm very grateful for having the opportunity of doing it. No, just like, it's just a very beautifully written show, and the way all these vignettes, you see them one at a time and they all interconnect and interweave so beautifully and come back to specific tragic events and how they just ripple through all these characters and how each character is affected differently. Or are they even? Is this even happening? Is this all in the imagination of the narrator? That's up to you as the viewer to decide. It's just really gets you to think, and just, after each scene, it's like, oh, wow. Oh, make the connections. As far as my characters, I just really had to, like, initially, like, you're like, well, the postman's not real. And I'm like, but it's real to her. And even if the scene is real, it's real to the narrator, so I have to play it as real.
Mm-hmm.
So young Margaret was, very idealist, and, she's lived a hard life and whatever, but, she falls in love and has her moment and it gets ripped away. And then 30, years later, how does that transcend? how does she live with that? I'm more recluse. How does that look? And I just, tried to be as honest as I could with character development, I guess.
I disagree. I think she's a dick, and you're wrong. So, no, that's what's cool about this show too. Is there's so much meat to it that like everybody can have their own interpretation. You're probably wrong if you ask Brody. So just keeping that in mind. We didn't do warm-ups for this show, did we? No, everybody was just depressed the whole time, I think.
I mean, yeah. I guess we didn't do warm-ups for this show, did we?
I just assumed you guys didn't want to.
I mean, it makes sense. It's not like a high-energy show, I guess.
I feel like we did, but it wasn't something
We didn't do warm-ups.
No,
do we do
for me,
stuff?
that's not part of my like pre-show ritual, so.
Sure.
We do Bumblebee. Bumblebee would have been perfect before this show. So before we go, because we're almost at the end of our show right now, I just want to hear from all you guys real quick. Like, what you getting up to these days? You working on anything? How you doing? You have any closing thoughts about the show? Brody, go first.
No, I mean, I was just really happy with getting to do this show because, I mean, when I had first submitted it, Ben got to see it for the stage reading for anybody who got to see the stage reading and that we had at Sac State. And then, he told me about this opportunity to put it before you and Dennis and all them and the creative team. And then just seeing it all come together, seeing the sets come up, they looked so great, and I loved the color contrasting and everything. And then we got the cast together, and we got like pretty much everybody we wanted for all the roles. I mean, we had to convince some people. I had to fill in for Craig, but eventually it just all came together, and I was really happy with it. And I'm really glad to have a team like you to all help put it together.
Stop it! You're in Tennessee now, right?
Yeah,
aren't you?
I am.
Aren't you? I don't know this information.
Yes.
So, are you working on anything these days, Brody?
Yeah, I'm working on a book right now. Just a side project, kind of taking my time with it, no rush. I've got a couple of plays I'm working on, and then I've got a musical I'm trying to put together. I'm hoping.
So you're gonna have to move back, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I've told Ben about it, but I was hoping you and Ben might actually. We'll talk about it.
We own you, so
they own 10% of my rights. I think it's in my fourth wall contract somewhere. Everybody needs to check those
somewhere. We threw those away. They were in quarantine. Nothing counts now. Apocalypse! All right. Anybody else have any other thoughts they want to share before we get finished?
Yeah, we could all move to Tennessee.
We could. That would be an idea right there.
Just move it. Yeah.
I've been wanting some whiskey, so I think that's a good idea.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you create like another hype house?
Create another what?
Another hype house?
Another
hype house?
Yeah.
Another hype house. What's a hype house? I'm out of the loop on this.
Oh, it's this whole house for like these teens, right? And apparently they call it the hype house.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Is something the kids are doing these days? Is this a dance?
Stuff like that.
Those kids.
It's one of those. This is one of those like.
Yeah.
What is it? Shuffle. It's a shuffle move, isn't it?
It's the renegade thing. The renegade.
The renegade. It's
Is
like the.
Saying it's a dance?
I don't know, dude. I saw people probably wondering what the hell this is. I got in trouble for hanging this up in my last house, and you know what? I love this thing. This was such a fun little piece to make. Can you guys see the blood? You can see the blood, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that was the one too, where like I remember I made this, and like everybody in the cast was like, "Why's that one got blood on it? What's that?" And I was like, because there's a thing in the story that involves blood in a human. Nobody got it.
And also Taylor fucked up, so we had to paint over it.
No.
I guess as the set designer, I got it.
Brody fucked up. For the record, Brody fucked up. And I fixed it, you little crap.
Can you prove that?
Oh, you mean that? The like white?
Can you prove it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did do that. That was me. I did mess that up. All right. So no better note to end on than that. Thank you for watching the Fourth Wall.
Thank you, everyone.
Kids Reunion, and we hope you watch the show online. It's available online now, right, Brody? What's it under? Where can they watch it?
Yeah, they can see it on YouTube. And for those of us that are in the cast, obviously we can go back on the cast page and check it out. But on YouTube, it should be the Calendar Kids play.
Type in. I figured this out. You type in the Calendar Kids play The Fourth Wall. Otherwise, you will get a series of children's YouTube videos involving children with calendars. I'm telling you right now, make sure you say
not wrong about
the
that.
Calendar Kids The Fourth Wall, and you will get your answers. All right. Well, without further ado, thanks for joining us, you guys. We love you, our captive audience, and we'll see you soon for our next reunions. Bye.
Bye.
And then I'll do a cut, and then we'll, be all good. That's everything. That was good. Okay. So that's over. I would expect that I'm hoping to have these done by next weekend because I'm doing the next one on Tuesday, and it should be pretty easy and everything. And look forward to these two. Those of you who haven't been able to be part of our creative team meetings, we're supposed to have one for the sketch show. Yeah, we're supposed to have one for 26 Pebbles. We're supposed to have one for pretty much every show. We're also hoping to do some sketch show stuff soon too. I'm in the middle of writing a couple of scripts. So if you guys are interested in being in those, let me know. I'll see if I can write you a role very easily. It's wouldn't be very difficult. We could do a Shane Company thing, Brody, if you wanted. Matt, I'm currently working on something of the Mist. So there's that.
Okay. Cool.
I wanted to do something with Trump and Biden. I want to do something with Madam Booty. I'll let you guys know. Let me know if you're interested. And Kim's also doing a show. Yeah. Do you need people for that still?
Well, actually, since he's here, I was going to ask Jonathan if he wanted to play one of the characters. He's going to play the younger brother. Because I kept thinking, who would I have play the younger brother of the main character? And it was Jonathan would work.
Because he's a little guy.
Because the character is very YouTube-ish, and I think you would play that really, really well.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
You're calling.
And then if the person who I wanted for the main character doesn't come through, I wanted Jamie. If you would play it.
Well, I'll send you their info and stuff. You guys fine with that?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll send you their emails and everything. Are you guys all doing okay? I miss you guys a lot. This is also I'm doing the podcast every Thursday and stuff like that.
Woo!
If anybody's interested, we can get that figured out. It's still this group of people and everything, but I might reach out to you guys for that and everything, and it releases on Mondays if you're bored. Craig and Amanda and Jamie Lee are on it, and Kim was on one episode for 2 seconds, so that's fine.
All right. Wait, where do you release it?
It's on YouTube right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll show you.
You'll
watch it and you'll go, This is not a Kim thing. We don't talk about
Taylor talking for 2 hours.
It kind of actually. That's pretty much what it is. So if you want to see that, that's pretty much what it is. All right. I love you guys. Thanks for doing this. This is great. Take care of yourselves and break quarantine. 1, 2, 3, break quarantine.